This is a Soulfire production. Welcome to Mother. No, it's Mother. Welcome to Mother, the show where we can explore our inner mothers to actualize our greatest selves. Through interviews with incredible guests, live coaching sessions, and my own experiences, we're going to dive deep into embracing feminine values and reparenting ourselves. So be prepared to show up, hold space, and be mothered in a way you never have before, but have always needed. It's time we rewrite the Mother Code. Hi, and welcome to Mother, Rewriting the Mother Code with me, Dr. Gertrude Lyons. So we are heading into April. Yes, and the theme, my overall theme for the month of April, started about a week ago, is transition, right? Because we are every human on this planet is in transition because we're going from the season of winter to the season of spring. So there's collectively ways that we're all in transition. And I'm going to share just a little bit today about my personal transition and what it means to me and how I'm planning for it, what I'm thinking about it, in hopes that, you can relate to whatever transitions you're in. And then universally, how some of them we're all in together. So I want us to feel collective, but also spark some thoughts and ideas for you individually as I share my transition journey. Yeah, because this is and will be the second winter of us living in Mexico, being away from Chicago for the whole winter. So basically we came the end of December and we will be here till mid-April, and basically almost exactly marking the season of winter, because I think we came down here about the 22nd of December. So right after the winter solstice, and now a month after the spring equinox, but right at what are considered, it's also this time of year has a number of religious holidays. So Easter, we'll be actually flying back on Easter. Passover will be in the midst of Ramadan. I don't think it's an accident that there are so many celebrations and ways, for us to mark this transition. And, living in Mexico, it doesn't happen in the seasonal way and the weather kind of way that it does in Chicago. And in fact, it's kind of the opposite. And we are, we're in the dry season here. And so everything here is turning brown and dying, and so to speak, and leaves are falling off things, versus Chicago where things are bursting back into life and it's during the rainy season here. But there's still differences, there's still ways that the light is different and the temperature changes and all sorts of things. So having us all, and I've really been working on being way more aware of wherever I am, how the seasons impact me, what are the cues and signals around me. And that's something that I've so hugely valued about being able to spend time, these last 2 full years. Yeah, overcoming actually 2 full years as of now, when the pandemic started here in Mexico, where I'm so much more living in nature and the elements, and it's right in front of me and I can't escape it. And, versus Chicago, which I love, I love my home in Chicago. I love it dearly. But became very aware that even, with a lovely outdoor garden, I almost never see the moon, and some things like that I miss and have to work a little bit harder at. So these are some of the things that I'm being with. And I just want to share and kind of go into it a little bit more about what it feels like to be heading back to Chicago for me. What's going on in my arena in that regard. And I would say I have mixed feelings, and I don't know how that'll change over the years, but given that we're not 100% out of the pandemic, but certainly, in a very different place than we have, I'm more excited this year to go back and, be in Chicago and be with people and my friends and close loved ones that are in Chicago. And that is something that, brings me tremendous nourishment, tremendous solace, I guess, even in what I know is we're still in challenging times. I'm not pretending that we're not, but things are definitely different. So I'm excited from that perspective. And, I've really didn't expect, and it's something the pandemic brought, that Mexico would feel so much like home or become, truly another home for us. And it's a place where, Rich and I and us as a couple just have so much more space. We don't have as many distractions. We, get in a rhythm here that is very nourishing. And it causes me to then look at like, okay, I don't have the same external aspects that I do in Chicago, but how do I meet those yearnings? How do I meet the kind of ease and connection that we have here, back in Chicago, and let it be different. It is a little busier and crazier in Chicago, and that's okay too. I want to be able to operate in, all of these spheres and not necessarily feel like, oh, one is better than the other, or I have to be someplace, to ultimately be nourished. But in these last weeks that I have here, I want to take explicit advantage of the aspects that are here. And we've worked this whole quarter really hard on what it means to plan. And even with it being easier here, we can still get disconnected as a couple. I can get disconnected and just kind of get into my driven workspace and forget to take time to be, in the elements and outdoors. It's so accessible to me. So, it always takes some thought, some awareness on our part and it's to mother ourselves and to give ourselves what we need in any circumstance in any given moment. Today is a perfect example of that. I have a very full day. Right before hopping on to do this recording, I led a session at a women's forum. It was put on by the Loyola's Quinlan School of Business, and their women's arm and their women's leadership arm put on a forum today. And I got to speak on feminine leadership advantage. And, I was up in the darkness, and really I was very nervous. And I did a lot of things to help myself prepare. So one of the reasons I'm bringing that up is, while I'm talking about kind of this bigger transition from here to there, these are the kinds of things that I could carry with me, right? Lighting candles, creating a beautiful space, getting, the beverages that I need and getting my space set up and, drawing from various resources and a morning ritual that I do, making sure that even though I was nervous and, kind of starting to feel a little like flustered, like I got to get on screen, I made sure to do those things. And I know it made a difference. I still kind of do, but had butterflies in my stomach. But I was able to tend to my feelings, and I took a moment to be with my husband and share that I was afraid. And, that helps soothe and calm some of those fears. Naming it to tame it, right? And bringing myself. So anything that I could do to bring myself back to myself and more present and understand that fear is a part of it, right? And I had prepared, but still always feel anxious and, allow myself to then, enjoy and be in the space with these other women, which, I think I did fairly well. There's always, room for improvement, but I felt good. And I know that my preparation and the transition into the talk made a very big difference. So those are, the kinds of things that we're talking about today is how do we tend to ourselves in transitions, right? And I just did a weekend, my very first, weekend experience, weekend retreat here in Mexico, something I've had in my mind and dreamed about, since we envisioned having a place here and making it a reality. But to have women come together and celebrate this transition of a season and the season of spring and the spring equinox, and practice our muscles of tuning into ourselves and at whatever level, whatever, kind of level of growth work or practice you have at that, I particularly, as women, wanted us to tune into some of the less valued, some of the less focused on aspects, like how do the four elements intervene in our lives: earth, air, fire, water, and how do we incorporate those in anything from daily rituals to instead of just taking a shower in the morning, imagining cleansing, imagining a whole different experience and a preparation for the day using the water element. And like I talked about earlier, creating a beautiful space and practicing and living into my passion, the fire element, which is my covenant to engage fully and be alive and make a difference in the world, through myself, and then share that with others. So, how can those operate in our lives, and how do we use those to, more profoundly impact our transitions?
Hi, I'm so excited to share with you my 2024 Spring Equinox Self-Mothering Retreat that's happening this March 2024. And I would love for you not only to consider it, but to attend. But in considering it, hey, just knowing that you would be leaving cold weather, if that's the space that you're in, and coming down to just magnificently beautiful, warm, nourishing place of Zihuatanejo, Mexico. Zihuatanejo meaning land of the goddess women, and coming to really take time for yourself. Okay. And that I am learning more and more isn't just a nice thing to do or something extravagant or something selfish. It's essential. And I really want you to take it seriously, to consider, just think about what would it take for me to go. It's a 5.5-day retreat, getting from where you are, getting there, landing there, and then being in a space that is all about you. It's all about nourishing you. It's all about tuning into you, using everything around us, the nature, the food, the beautiful people, the rituals, ceremonies. I bring it, we really bring it. And we go deeper and deeper as the days go on, and we release, we let go, we bring in what is nourishing, what is empowering, what is that space of just really divine feminine energy. And we do it in the community of women. It's not for everyone. I will be honest, if that idea of leaving and not making it work, or it's just too hard, not for you. If the idea of, spending that amount of time inwardly focused and going to that level of self-awareness doesn't sound like something you're willing to do or put the time and energy into, then it's not for you. And it's good to know that, right? So this is for people who are serious about what it means to mother themselves, what it means to take time for ourselves, and that gift and what that gift can bring to us. It was originally right after my fall retreat. It filled right up. But now some people, it turns out, are not able to come. So I do have a handful of openings. And if you're listening to this and you're willing to take that step, please reach out to me. We can do a discovery call, or you can put a deposit down. I would love that. And you can do that by going to my website, www.drgertrudelyons, DrGertrudelyons.com. Go to events, and there you go. It'll all be there. There's a beautiful page there for you to explore. I look forward to hearing from you and then seeing you on my spring retreat.
We also looked at, what is it? How can we see just things that happen in our everyday and things that, to notice, right? And I have to be present with myself. And that takes work. That takes, some self-awareness and some deep work. And I'm always super grateful. And in my own journey, continuously with the frameworks we have at the Right Foundation to do that, to practice living toward a vision, to notice the mistaken beliefs I have, what's in the way of me living, my life more fully as a woman, using masculine values to enhance my journey as a woman. So all of these, are aspects that we touched on through experiences this past weekend. bringing to light, and then, being in the season of spring, and how much of it in so many cultures is about rebirth and is about, coming out of the darkness into the light. Because it's not temperature driven. We all experience more, darkness in the season of winter as we move into the season of spring. And how can we work with those energies? What does it mean to do that? We worked on that over the weekend to, the first one is just being aware that it's happening, being aware that we have access to them, and they're right there in front of us, whether it's through learning about and understanding the rituals that were performed by various cultures, and, honoring them, and maybe practicing them in a way that feels right to you, and that could be your own traditions, and doing that in a more meaningful way. Or it can be, and I say this in an honoring way, not, co-opting others, but I think seeing, the beauty in other rituals. I have many friends who will be partaking and, living into during this season, Ramadan. And at various times I on a journey with them. I have I'm profoundly inspired by their dedication to um, fast and go inward, for a whole month, and honor, the rhythms of that, and, learn and grow, and, they become very aware of the transitions of a day in a whole different way by doing that. And I've, just by practicing it a little bit, with them, feel a sense of community and an honoring of that tradition, and how it can impact me, in my life. And I'm very grateful, to have them in my life and know that. We also kind of looking at this weekend, which, really afforded me and the individuals that joined me, and the women that joined me on that weekend. All of this was under the umbrella of looking at how do we mother ourselves, in stressful times, in easeful times. I've been with women down here in Mexico where they're technically on vacation, and and still needing support to transition and really have vacation doesn't automatically come easy, and we have to be mindful of vacation time in addition to the high pressure work times and family time, right? But looking at ourselves, seeing ourselves collectively, because the women I was with last weekend, on the weekend together, covered the whole continuum of the mothering journey. Thinking about possibly wanting to have children in their mothering journey, to women who have decided not to include children in that journey, women who have children at various ages, and women, who are mothering their careers, their relationships, and just how, profound that was for them. But through it all, looking at how do I mother myself, right? And it's the theme I want to keep coming back to, and looking at the mistaken beliefs and what they needed to rewrite in their lives to allow in more of this nourishment, more of these aspects, these energies, from the season, from the four elements, from nature herself, and food. We really focused on, because we sit down to meals, and it's such a valuable transition time, and that's something that Rich and I have carried forth, whether we're here, whether we're in Chicago, as we've been making our meal times more meaningful. And that's a connection point, in our day where, we do a paired share with each other, and give each other space to just express for a period of time, and, nourish ourselves, through relationship as well as the food. And we talked about food this weekend, and finding deeper meaning in the foods that we're eating, not just, their nutrition values and the calories, that kind of more masculine aspect of the food we partake in, but, what are some of the more mystical qualities of the food, and meanings that have been held, different deeper meanings that have been held, whether it's a carrot that is rooted deep in the ground, and root that goes, straight down and deep, and it has that masculine aspect. And whereas what's seen and on top is the feminine, kind of the frilly aspect, that might more typically be seen as feminine is what's on the exterior, and what we see, but how they're both there and working together in harmony with each other. So, really took our place on a whole journey just around our meals. So I'm hoping, that this sheds some light. And I know for me, as I'm heading, back to Chicago, I have some trepidation. You get into a rhythm and a routine in one place, and I think it's, both important and good. And I'm grateful to have such a big transition to kind of keep me on my toes and, help me appreciate where I am in the moment and really take it in and use it fully, and, bring that energy that I know will be bringing back with me into Chicago, and planning and looking forward to, the aspects that, the city energy and, being in our home in Chicago and the special things that brings. So I hope you're relating everything from, the transitions minute in your day to the big ones, in our life, that we can be in these together and honoring them and honoring our journey and honoring the feminine values and the feminine aspects of them. Not more so, but in harmony with the masculine. We're at a point in time where we just need to give a lot more airtime, to the feminine values of being and intuition, but seeing them in balance with intuition, with logic, and doing with being, not in replacement of, but looking at which ones, will support us in our transition and honoring our journey ahead. So can't wait to hear from you. I love when I hear from you. So please, follow me on Instagram. Don't forget to sign up for my newsletter, which is linked in the show notes. So I would love, love. We'll have a newsletter coming out shortly and would love to have you be part of it. So please sign up for that. I'm also going to invite you to subscribe and leave a review so more and more people can share and everything that comes together on the Mother podcast. So thank you so much, and blessings.
Thank you so much for choosing yourself and taking the time to listen to this podcast. As always, please rate, review, and subscribe to Mother. Subscribe to Mother. It helps other people who need this message, aka all women. Well, actually, everybody, men included. I'm honored to have you on this journey in mothering yourself. Remember, change is uncomfortable, but it's beautiful, and it starts with us. And if you can't wait until next week's episode, follow me on Instagram and LinkedIn at Dr. Gertrude Lyons, or at my website, drgertrudelyons.com. I'll see you next time.